Hey guys, welcome to Faith, Family, and Football. I'm your host, Jordan Capel, a believer, a family man, and a lifelong student of the game. Inside this podcast, we dive into what matters most: a strong faith, a strong family, and a strong foundation through the game we love. Every episode will share stories, lessons, and encouragement to help you lead with purpose on the field, at home, and in your walk with God. And at the end of the day, coach with confidence. Let's get after it. Hey guys, welcome to our episode, Pursuing the Ring. Today we're going to be talking about how to build a successful program without sacrificing relationships. And so what we're going to be looking at is, how do I get my team to the highest level possible without sacrificing the things that I love in my personal life? And so what I want you to picture, okay, because this is something that a lot of us have within maybe a lifetime career goal or a personal goal, but we want to win at the highest level possible at whatever that means. Okay, so if it means going undefeated in your Pee Wee program, or if it means achieving a state championship game within your high school team, whatever level it is, I want you to imagine that. Okay, because that's something that we all aspire to do. Now, I want you to imagine that you win it, you're holding the trophy, and at the end of the season, you've achieved that. What are some things that you had to sacrifice in order to get there? All right. Is it time with family, time with friends, time with your loved ones? Because these are things that a lot of coaches sacrifice in order to have some type of career success. And my goal for you is to take away that we do not have to sacrifice those things in order to accomplish that goal. All right. So I want you to kind of just focus in on that goal and really begin thinking about, what are things that I still want in my life while achieving that goal. Okay. Because the reality is that you can win a state championship game as a coach and still have those things in your life. Right. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't going to be times where, you're going to have to go to a game on Friday night and you're going to miss something for your kid, right? It happens. I'm a big family advocate, so I think that you should always try to attend as many events as possible. But if you're a high school coach, Friday nights you're going to be at the games. I mean, almost every single game you're going to be at, right? I don't think there's very many instances where you're going to miss a game, okay? But what we have to do is make sure that we're doing a self check, and we're making sure that we are attending as much as possible within our children's life. And so let's just kind of go through my personal story within winning a state championship game, how it felt to do it, how it felt to accomplishment, and then kind of the aftermath of it all, and talk about the high and then the quick drop. And so back in 2022, I was working at Malvern. I was coaching defensive line, and we actually made it to the state championship game and won, right? And while that was an awesome accomplishment, all right, I want to emphasize that we were able to accomplish this without me having to give my entire life over to football. So I was still taking time to spend it with my family. I was still taking time to spend it with my kids, because that's something that I placed a really high value in. And I was watching our head coach. Head coach at the time was JD Plumley. He was also spending time with his kids. He worked a lot of hours and he did a lot of things for the program, but he was still able to kind of maintain those relationships in his personal life. Now, the takeaway from that is that you do not have to be a workaholic in order to accomplish something as cool and as successful as winning a state championship. And so when we see coaches that are sacrificing their home life for that work life, that is a choice that they're willing to make in order to have that career success. And my problem with that is that when we see people that are successful like that, immediately within our own minds, what do we think we need to do? Well, we think that we need to sacrifice our home life in order to achieve that. And that's just not true. You can have a successful career without sacrificing your marriage, your time with your kids, and those things. Because when you do accomplish this, you need to be looking at it uh, on from a after perspective, thinking about, well, if I did this, if I went all the way, if I won the state championship game, what are the things that I had to give up, right? And so, in order for you to start kind of thinking about that, because if this is a goal, if this is something that you seriously want to accomplish, you need to begin thinking about things that you do not want to lose in the process. Okay? So, don't lose sight of what matters most to you. And if you're a father, if you're a husband, and those are valuable relationships in your life, which they should be, then you need to make sure that I'm still present as a father, I'm still loving, caring as a husband, and I'm doing everything that I can in those roles while also still fulfilling my role as a coach and an advocate for my kids in my program. So don't lose sight of what matters most to you. Make sure that you're holding true to your relationship with your wife, because one big thing that I hear from a lot of coaches is don't lose one ring chasing another. Understand that coaching is a calling, right? Does not exclude you from being a good father, being a good husband. It is your job, right? Once you are married, once you have kids, you are accepting those roles, right? And I think a lot of people just kind of overlook that. Like, you are probably in the most influential relationships that you're going to have when you accept the role of father and husband. Okay? Because if I'm doing those two roles successfully, I'm going to have a more impactful legacy through my kids, through my spouse, than I would ever have by myself. And so when you begin to own those roles and you begin to nurture those roles, you begin to build a prosperous home. And I don't mean financially prosperous, but something that's flourishing with love. And so when you're making your decisions as a coach, you're actually impacting every other aspect of your life. So the decisions that I make as a coach impacts me as a father. The decisions that I make as a coach impacts me as a husband. The decisions that I make as a coach impacts me as a friend. And when you begin to get your priorities aligned, and so when I go in and I say my priorities are faith, family, friends, football, and those are the things that I'm going to work out in my life, I'm always going to keep my faith number one. I'm never going to sacrifice my faith, my religious values for who I want to become as a coach. I never want to sacrifice my role as a husband, as a father, for who I want to become as a coach. And as you begin to work through that prioritization, you'll realize that there are some more important roles to you as an individual than just being a coach. Does that mean that I'm not going to strive to be the best possible coach that I can be? No, that's not what that means. It means that I'm going to work hard to become the best version of myself for each one of those roles. I'm going to work hard to take time and spend it with my kids. I'm going to work hard and make sure that my wife is feeling loved in this relationship. I'm going to work hard and make sure that I'm doing everything to create a successful program for my football team. And when you begin to work through those prioritization, you begin to manage your time differently, you are going to see an impact in each one of those roles rather than just being successful as a coach. And a lot of times as a young coach, we just put our head down, we're working hard, we're going to work, right? And then we're going to let our relationships dwindle. But what I'm telling you is that you don't have to do that, right? You allot time for you becoming the best version of yourself as a coach, while also allotting time for me becoming the best version of myself as a father. And so that might look differently for each single person. What does the Bible say, right? We're going to look at the scriptures that relate to marriage, okay? Because this is kind of the point of the whole episode is don't lose your ring chasing another. Don't lose a supportive spouse just to accomplish something with 1 year within your program. Don't lose 15 years of relationships shared memories for 1 year of success in your program. It's Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22 said, "He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord." Proverbs chapter 19, verse 14, "Houses and wealth are inherited from parents, but a prudent wife is from the Lord." So with that in mind, do you value your wife? Do you let her know with words? And then what about with your actions? When we begin to look at our wife as a gift from God, somebody who has been prepared for you, another half to make you whole, you begin to treat her differently. If you value your wife, you'll spend time with her. If you value your wife, you'll make sure that she's comforted and nurtured within the relationship. If you're somebody who isn't married yet, then this is probably not something that applies to you right now, but will apply to you in your future relationship. Because you want somebody who is going to support you. My wife is the biggest supporter that I have. So on the nights when we're losing, we're down, and everybody's booing me in the stands, my wife is there to support me. On the nights where I come home, I'm bloodshot, I just don't know what we're going to do, I've experienced something terrible within my program, my wife is there. Hold my hand. You need that within your life. I think that so many coaches lose sight of that just because they want to be successful within their career. You've got to spend time nurturing that relationship just like you do watching film. You've got to spend time with your kids just like you do with your kids within your program. If you want to build a successful life, these are areas that you got to work on. You can't just solely work on your career and expect everything else to be successful when I'm not spending time building that area in my life. I'm not going to become a better Christian by watching game film. I'm not going to develop a good relationship with my kids because I'm not spending time with them. Those are things that take investment, just like everything that you do for your program. So now that you have this goal in mind, list your priorities, things that I'm not willing to sacrifice in order to accomplish them, and make sure that I'm aligning my life correctly so that I can still achieve all these goals without sacrificing the other areas of my life. And so don't let your ambition blind you from your blessings. This phase of life will not last forever. Value it. As you watch your kids grow older, okay, it happens so fast. So fast. Don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of the years of childhood that you could be missing because you're too busy preparing for next season. Understand that your program can be successful while you also being present within your household, while also being invested in your relationship with your wife. Recognize the blessings that God has given you. This is your wife, your kids, your health, your job, and so much more. Understand that each one of those is a gift from God, and you need to treat them as such. Don't ignore those blessings. If you start ignoring the blessings that God gives you, He's going to stop blessing you. Make sure that you're giving thanks for those things. Remember that you are a role model for your biological kids just as much as the kids in your program. Don't invest more time into the kids in your program than you do to your own kids. There's a reason that God blessed you with children, right? Yes, you're blessed to be a coach, and you should be a role model for those kids. But it's so much more important for you to be present as a father. Because if your kids see you growing up and working on other people's kids more than you invest in yourself or in their lives, they're going to feel robbed. So when it's over and you're finally holding up the championship trophy, you need to understand the cost. What will you have gained? Was it worth everything that you sacrificed and paid? How will it really advance your life holding that trophy, getting the ring? And then understand the impacts of those decisions beyond the field. I still never wear my ring. The championship ring, I've probably worn it 3-4 times. It's dusty. It sits in a jewelry cabinet, right? The memory, fantastic. fantastic season. Worked with some great coaches, great kids. It was a phenomenal experience. But understand that through that process, I didn't get divorced. I didn't lose out on time with my kids. Those are things that I made a priority within my life while still being able to accomplish this. Yes, we have to watch several hours of film. If I want to be ready to compete, we got to watch film. We have to game plan. We have to practice. We have to do those things. But working in your time for investing time with your kids on the weekend, taking your wife out on dates, those things still matter. You say, well, how do you schedule that in? Well, I make it just as important as anything else. If I prioritize my life, faith, family, football, and I recognize that I still have to attend church, I still have to read my Bible, I still have to value my time with my wife, I still have to invest time with my kids, make sure they're getting the time with dad, then you're not sacrificing those relationships. My time allotment will be different in football season than it is in off season, and my family knows that. But that doesn't mean that they're totally ignored. They just get a little less dad time. You have to have that mindset. Otherwise, you will never be able to achieve what you want to achieve without sacrificing the areas of your life. If you're not willing to allot the time manage correctly, if you're not willing to prioritize keeping the first things first, if you're not willing to do those things on the front end, then on the back end of things, you're going to end up sacrificing so many other things just to hold a trophy. So, with that in mind, take time to recognize what is valuable to you. What am I really willing to sacrifice to gain this ring? And how can I accomplish it without sacrificing anything? When we come back, we're going to be talking 3-man and 4-man pressures that I kind of like to expose offensives using the defensive strategy on our side of the ball, making sure that we're able to get pressure on the quarterback and really rush in the run game too. So stick around, make sure that you come back after the quick little video, and I'll see you shortly. Hey coach, real quick, if you're getting value from this episode, I've got a small favor to ask. Take a second and share this video with another coach who could use a little extra encouragement today. Whether it's a teammate, someone in your district, or even a coach you look up to, pass it along. The mission here is to help build coaches up just like you, and it starts by spreading the word. So hit that share button, send it to a friend, and let's keep making an impact together. Thanks for being part of the team. Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to be talking a little bit about blitzing. When it comes to creating pressure creates problems for the offense. You learn to send pressure against packages and formations that set up your players to make plays, while pairing with pass protections that allow you to stay sound on the back end. So with run game blitzes, I'm going to develop blitz packages that pair with their base runs and allow our players to fit fast while creating problems for the offensive line. And then pass game blitzes, I'm going to force the quarterback to constantly fear holding onto the ball while patching it with coverages that protect on the back end. And so when it comes to making blitzes or whatever you need to do, I would highly recommend building some type of crossing movement off of a normal blitz. You can use anything from defensive line stunts or just blitzes where you're coming inside and one player's going outside. That doesn't normally happen. And so up here we kind of have some very basic blitzes. And these are things that everyone does within every program. You've got to figure out a way to move it in a sense to where you catch at least one person off guard. And so one thing that creates more problems for offenses in the game is patching crossing blitzes or stunts where there's a gap exchange between a defensive player to test offensive rules. So first define the normal blitz packages below and pair it with a crossing blitz to cause issues. So pretty much everyone, I would imagine everyone that's listening to this video has an A gap, B gap, and C gap pressure. And so what I try to do is create some type of twist, so either a defensive line twist or a cross blitz, where we're exchanging that gap with somebody else. And then one of the best things that you can do just from a defensive line, so if I'm just going to have a forefront defensive line and I want to loop, it's just kind of exchanging. You're going to have one guy that's normally outside go inside, and your inside guy loop. Okay, we call this Texas and El Paso. It's nothing fancy. A lot of programs do it. Now, Something that I would highly recommend doing is giving it a call to where you can do it a half line at a time. And so if you just wanted one side of the ball to do it, so like let's say I want to pass rush only to the field, well, I'm going to give that an exclusive call. All right, and you can call it whatever you want, okay? Uh, but you can do a half line stunt or you can do a full line stunt, which where both sides are doing the same exact stunt. So we have this, your defensive end is penetrating, your defensive tackle is looping, and then you can flip it where your defensive end is now penetrating, but he's taking a aggressive angle to kind of maintain containment of the quarterback. So he's going to penetrate through B gap. We kind of go through the inside shoulder of the tackle, really aggressive, and he's going to just run it. That way he's getting to a contained angle, and then the defensive end is going to loop in C gap. And this makes it difficult because now a lot of times that guard is going to chase down with a defensive tackle, and the defensive end is going to be able to loop free or just get a one-on-one with the center. If you do this to both sides, now the center has to choose which defensive end he's going to pick up. But again, you can do half line stunts. You can give it its own tag, and you can do it to one side of the field or one side of your defense, however you want to look at it. On packaging it with your normal blitzes, like if you were going to run a 4-2-5 and you want to blitz frequently enough, okay, you want to be able to teach your linebackers how to cross blitz. And if their base blitz, so like for us, we might tag an Astro or a Blitz, okay? So an Astro would be A gap, okay? If your Mike's responsible for A gap and he goes A gap a lot, all right, and you want to send them B gap, okay, well, you tag it Mike X or whatever, okay? And that's going to allow you to be able to show A gap pressure and then B gap. So in this instance, maybe it's your Will and he's been going on bullets quite a bit. You can tag Will X and now he's going to show his bullets blitz and he's going to go A. All we're doing is crossing it, all right? And you can do however you want. You could actually just coach this and you don't even have to tag it anymore, where they just automatically show A gap or B gap and then go the opposite one. But this causes more issues for offense than nearly anything else that I've ever experienced, all right? Especially in just a base four-man front. Now in a 3-4, we have much better angles, which is why I like running a 3-4. But here you have a lot of times a person gets free because someone gets confused on the offense because you're lining up and they're anticipating you to go one gap and you go the other. Unless you're playing a really experienced offensive line, almost guarantee that one person becomes free. And so if we do this, right, if we do this out of a 3-4, now I can go in and I could do an X stunt and the backer is going to the opposite A gap. And you can do this out of a 4-2 as well. You could just tag X and boom, now you're exchanging to the opposite A gap. It's a four-man pressure, right? And so here we have a defensive end going B gap. You have your nose going A gap, and the backer is going to cross the nose, going the opposite A gap. Causes a lot of issues because guess where that center is probably going to go? He's probably going to open up with that nose, and then it's going to allow that backer to scrape clean across his face. Same thing here. You can go inside backer, outside the C gap, which is pretty abnormal, right? You have the nose going A gap. The defensive end is going to go B gap. And now you're showing B gap blitz with your backer. But what is he doing? He's going to cross over to C gap. And this allows a lot of times that tackle is going to do what? He may open up in a pass set, all right? But what's he immediately going to do? He's probably going to go down with that defensive end and B gap. It's going to allow your inside backer to rip across his face and go get pressure on the quarterback. Whenever you're doing these types of blitzes, make sure that you are protecting yourself on the back end. I teach a lot of cover 3, which we talked about earlier in one of the podcast videos, but you want to make sure that you're running a coverage that you can do with your team that puts you in a good position to stop the play regardless of the call. And so if you were going in a pass situation and you want to defend everything on the back end, you may not want to run cover 3. If it's 3rd and 15 and you want an extra guy getting back there, then you can run quarters, right? but just make sure you're pairing it with something on the back end that allows you to play aggressive up front, but protects yourself on the back end from anything deep. You can give up a hitch, you can give up a slant, we can rally and tackle, but you got to be able to make sure that I'm packaging it and pairing it correctly so that I'm keeping myself safe when I make the call. Again, these are just some easy things that you can do within your defense just to get some pressure to the quarterback or pressure on the runs, all right? And it just allows you to stay gap sound within your program. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Faith, Family, and Football. If you got value from this episode, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss a new drop. And don't forget, head over to SidelineSuccessAcademy.com to grab your free ebook, The 10 Things to Know Before You Start Coaching. And this applies to all coaches. Plus, for all my football coaches out there, you can grab my full 3-4 defensive playbook. And right now, you can save $10 with the code PODDISCOUNT10 at checkout. Again, that's PODDISCOUNT10. Thanks for hanging out with me. Stay strong in your faith, lead your family, and coach with confidence. Catch you next time.